Hello and welcome, my name is Chris from ChristopherHall.com, and what we're going to be talking about in this video presentation is of course low back pain, but also a training method that can be used in order to help you overcome it, treat it, prevent it in the future. So, mechanical low back pain. Now mechanical low back pain is mechanics, movement. So mechanical low back pain is back pain that is caused by movement. As Dr. Mike Evans describes it, it's not a disease, so it's not something that you get that you can, let's say, vaccinate against and cure. It's more of a chronic vulnerability. So what that means is anyone can experience it anywhere at any time, whether you're an office worker or an athlete. So in order to overcome low back pain, and I'll explain what overcoming low back pain means later on, but in order to overcome low back pain, we have to build a resilience. We have to build a stronger body that can cope with the rigors of life, no matter what your life is, whether it's sitting at a desk 8 hours a day, or if it's being an athlete, potentially working out, or doing your athletic performance 8 hours a day, whichever one it is. We've got to build a body that can cope with that, and that's what exercise for low back pain is all about. So the problem here is the improper use of the body by the way we move, eat, and think. And the solution is the proper use of the human body by the way we move, eat, and think. Now, that's what exercise for low back pain is all about. It's about helping you guys understand what is the proper use of the body with regards to mechanical low back pain by the way you move. So what we would be looking at is sitting posture, walking posture, how you lift things from the floor, how you carry things. So we've got all these different activities that you'll be doing in the day, and using exercise to strengthen your body so it becomes more resilient to the effects of low back pain. So what we're next going to be talking about is movement, is how we begin movement, how we learn movement, and in some ways how we forget movement and end up experiencing a lot more low back pain. So we'll click through to the next slide and we'll talk about that. So before we get into the learning and forgetting movement and proper use of the human body, I just want to go through a couple of points and then we'll come to it. So until 1990s, rest was the common advice, and now exercise and activity is the advice. And I kind of categorize exercise in three different ways, I guess. You've got the people who just exercise. So I've put that sort of as point number one. Exercise plus exercise equals training. So that's the people who think they need to exercise more, harder, faster, longer, so on and so forth. And I call this the smash and grab approach. So you get people who do it. Who go to a gym and do it to themselves, so they smash themselves and the gym grabs their money. Or they may go to a trainer, so the trainer smashes the client and then grabs their money. So that's sort of approach number one, is just exercise. Then we have approach number two, which brings in the next element, and Joe Friel put this beautifully in his book, The Cyclist Training Bible, which is exercise plus rest equals training. So it's knowing just as much about rest as you do about exercise, knowing how to rest, what types of rest, sort of active and passive rests, and also adding exercise around that, because a lot of people will talk to you about exercise, how they do it, the way they do it, when they do it, what they do, and then they won't really take into consideration what they do for rest, how they do it, when they do it, so on and so forth. And I just wanted to add sort of my way of doing it, which is correct exercise plus correct rest equals correct training. Now that's not to say mine is any better than Joe Friel's, because I'm sure Joe Friel does his correctly, but the way it's worded, people could take it as I just need to exercise and then I just need to go and sit on the sofa in between. Whereas what I'm trying to to add in is there is a way to train, there is a there is a way to exercise, and there is a way to rest, and that brings about correct training. So when it comes to movement, it's learned consciously and unconsciously. So as you can see up at the top there, you've got the child who is squatting down. You could say with a very solid technique, a very solid form, and then you've got the picture underneath, which of maybe a more grown adult who's doing it, let's say, wrong. You've got feet in a wrong position, you've got knees in the wrong position, head in a wrong position. I can't see what his back's doing, but maybe his back's in a wrong position. And so what's happening here? Well, as a child, we learn to move. We don't learn through someone telling us. We learn through a process of what comes naturally. And then as we move through adolescence into adulthood, because we come into maybe more specialized movements and sports without possibly being ready for it, our movement changes and adapts on an unconscious level. So unconsciously we learn it, and then unconsciously we forget it. So the process of exercise for low back pain is to consciously learn that movement again. So to consciously go through exercises, stretches, mobility work, and relearn that correct movement because we know it intuitively. It's just on a conscious level. We may not maybe listen to those signals or signs as much as we could. So that's what exercise for low back pain is about. It's about doing the correct exercise, the correct rest, the correct movement to relearn how you move correctly. So in the final slide, what we're going to look at is the whole training process. So how all of this fits together, and I've got a nice little diagram for you to hopefully help you understand this a little bit more fully. So here we are, final slide, and just at the top, I just wanted to sort of maybe help you understand the whole training process and what it's about, because it's a lot of people think it's just about doing exercise and being told how to do and what to do. But exercise for low back pain, and I guess my whole training approach has a little bit more of an educational approach to it. And as it says here, give a man a workout and he exercises for an hour. Teach a man how to move and he's active for a lifetime. So I've kind of adapted the Chinese proverb of teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. But I think it's very apt with the whole approach or the whole approach that I bring to my training and the way that I coach people and train people. So you can see the whole process here on the diagram on the right. So this is the whole process. Now anyone could come in at sort of any point on this. So let's take worst case scenario. You've had surgery on your back. You then get referred to a physio who rehabilitates. So you go through I don't know, say 12 weeks of rehabilitation. And then it's then on to exercise. And I've had in the past a client who's gone through that process, but they weren't referred from the physio to me. They were just told to go and use a gym. You can now use a gym was the words that was said to her. You can now go and use a gym. And then when obviously she came and told me her story, I quickly realised that she shouldn't be using a gym on her own. So we started up working together on a one-to-one basis, and this is where exercise for low back pain comes in. It's sort of the bridge between sort of the rehabilitation process and what I call exercise for general health. So exercise for general health, general fitness, and sport specific. These are maybe more commonly known exercises. So it's exercises with a little bit more intensity, a little bit more load. Now, obviously, general health is just sort of general cardiovascular fitness, muscular endurance, muscular strength. So it's very basic. It's maybe of lower load. Then as you move into general fitness, that's a little bit more specialized. It's a little bit heavier loads, a little bit more strength, power, and agility, and things like that. And obviously, sport specific. This is where you would then take up a sport, i.e., bodybuilding, football, running, cycling, whatever it may be, and you actually you exercise for that sport. But there is a process that you sort of go on to get there. And exercise for low back pain is that first port of call. So it's the first port of call which starts to build that resilience, and then as you move up the scale, you start to build a greater resilience. But as you get to the top on sport specific, because it's very specific and the way you train is very specific to the sport, you start to diminish that resilience. And this is how we forget proper movement, is as we go up this scale, we become more vulnerable to low back pain because our resilience begins to diminish, because the training becomes more specialized. As we go down the scale, it becomes more general, and our body, in a way, becomes more resilient, because low back pain comes about because of improper use of the human body, as I've said. And that proper use is, if you can think of the shoulder joint, it moves in many, many different directions. Now, if you train your shoulder properly and use it in those many, many different directions, it will become more resilient. But sport specific may only cause your shoulder joint to move one way, i.e., a pitcher in baseball or a cricket bowler. Your arm pretty much moves one way a lot, and it's repeated in that way. Now, if you aren't very resilient, you're going to get a shoulder pain, which is what a lot of sports people experience, is a pain because they're too specialized. So we need to become more generalized. So what we need to do is we need to maintain that sort of general feel, as well as mastering a sport. So this is why we have to start with exercise for low back pain, which again is just sort of that resilience building, and then general health, which is just expanding that, and then moving into general fitness and sport specific. So as we get to the top, we don't lose that general understanding of the way the body moves. Therefore, our low back pain incidence will become lower. So my whole training approach is about education, empowerment, and confidence in exercise and in yourself to do exercise. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope it's helped you understand low back pain, and it would be great to see you on the website. Obviously, there's lots more videos on there. As you can see on here, I've got a one-day workshop and a 24-week program. If you want to get involved in those, just come to the website, and you can. So yeah, many thanks for watching. My name's Chris from ChristopherHole.com. I will speak to you in a future video.